Well, good morning. 42%. Now, watching the morning news again, and somebody's come up with a figure that says 42% of Americans are struggling and having to draw into their savings and so on economically right now because of inflation, COVID, price of oil, and all the stuff that's going on. That's a lot. It's a lot. I guess I find myself more interested in this, because, I can't say that I've enjoyed the last 2 years on Earth. No, it hasn't been particularly good time to be alive. But on the other hand, we don't do any struggling at all. Sorry, but we don't. And I started thinking back on it, and it seems to me the last time that I made some really good profits in life was the last economic collapse, 2001. 2001 really gave me a nest egg that I stepped off of coming into the beginning of COVID, because again, when I saw the COVID thing coming, I went, oh man, this is going to affect the world economy. So I started to do some things, not a lot, but I did some things, that ended up positive for me. So at the moment, I am not part of the 42%. I am part of the 58% that isn't struggling at all here. But I guess a lot of it must have to do with direction, life direction, how you steer the boat. Because most of my life I have been steering my boat through an economy where everybody's got their hands out, It's a mouthful of handful of gimme and a mouthful of much oblige. There's see the way it seems everywhere I turn, somebody was trying to empty my pockets, and I got pretty tired of it real early on. I was youth, I guess, when I started to turn on that whole thing. First apartment I ever rented, I think. First time I ever paid a utility bill. I started to scratch my head about what's real here. And so, the direction that we've gone has been one of establishing independence and establishing sustainability. When we set our lives up so that we believe that we have to be dependent on a system, and that part of that dependency is that we must have a job and work for somebody, and then that we need to have credit so that we can acquire the goods that we need as a consumer. And, actually, to some extent, a little bit, one way or another, I've worked jobs for people, and that's one way I made money at times in life. And I've used credit over the years. There have been times where that was required. But they're also the downfall. They're the downfall, because when you're the employee, you're on the wrong side of the tax codes. You're on the wrong side of the laws. You're on the side where you get dinged rather than gain the advantages of the system we live in. I do understand from looking at numbers that most Americans are mortgaged out to the hilt. Their credit cards are near maxed out. They have less than 2 weeks savings put aside. Now, these are figures that have come to me over time that kind of stuck in my memory. I didn't do any specific research at the moment for this other than 42%. This morning, the talking heads say 42% of us are struggling at the moment, and we've drawn into our savings. And I started scratching my head because I'm going, boy, oh boy, if 42% is a lot of people, and that was about a similar number to how many people had less than 2 weeks savings. And so if they had to draw into their savings, whoa, what's left now? This is a messy situation for a lot of people. I wish, that there was a way I could offer a formula. I say things like, getting rid of credit debt, and everybody will tell you that, economic consultants, At this moment, energy is a primary focus, should be, for every American, because energy right now is what's killing you. It doesn't matter whether it's a pound of bacon, or it was the price of a letter. It doesn't matter. It's all diesel fuel, and so energy is killing everybody. Energy is affecting me too. And in the last video, I had mentioned how I'm seeing a disparity between multinational type, very large corporations and what they're doing with their pricing on inflation. And then I'm also seeing local businesses and how they're handling inflation. And I'm definitely seeing a trend that my local business people here are not marking things up at the rate that some of the multinationals are. So by finding sources, I've got it lucky. Ellen has forever been a coupon clipper, matching store prices, you name it, any place. Do you have a Kama'aina discount? Bill, there's a senior discount on Tuesday. Don't go today. Go tomorrow, and so on. Keeps me on top of some of it because I can never remember what store on what day. I just wish they'd say, yeah, you're over 70. We'll give you a discount, but. Yeah, you have to keep track of it. And once you get Alzheimer's, as you get older, it's really hard to figure out where are the senior discounts, But yeah, it's all that stuff. If you live here in Hawaii, you want to make sure to check with any businesses that you're dealing with as to whether or not they provide Kama'aina rates. This is not necessarily something the tourists know all about, but if you live here, you know that local residents at some businesses do get special pricing. They know it's expensive to live here, and if you live here all the time, they'll give you a break. And so some of the businesses have this as just, a word of mouth over the counter. You usually have to show a license or something to prove you actually live here. Some of them actually have cards. One of the filling stations over here has a card that on certain days, when you're a part of that program, you get discounts. Figuring out where all that stuff is at. It really helps in figuring out the people that aren't jacking the rates up like crazy, because greed has a lot to do with what's happening right now. And you know how it is with greed. And somebody elevates the price of something, and people still go right ahead and keep buying it. They go, well, I know this story because I've used it in my own wages before. So sometimes raising a price just means you make more money. That's all there is to it. And even more money than you would have made before there was an inflation and a disaster, Yeah, that happens. Some people walk out of this thing so fat. That's kind of what I'm trying to say, like with 2001 and then currently the beginning of COVID. I looked at it. I made arrangements. I moved things around, and I started to say, all right, what's going to happen here? Well, obviously, good companies, no matter how hard they were hit during these periods, good companies with good numbers and a good product, they're always going to climb. And so, finding them when they're at bargain basement prices, which has been happening lately. It's been happening because we're at a bear market where the fluctuation during the bull there for the last couple of years have been maybe 1% to 2% undulation in the market, from day to day, with a few big plunges. Now the plunges are much larger than that by the day. They're big waves. Big waves are happening day after day. The bottom of each trough is a place to buy, and the top of each wave crest is a great place to sell. Amazon, who I've always been quite fond of, it was one of my smarter picks many years ago, that have put me in a good position. A lot of people don't like Jeff Bezos. He's a good friend of mine. They recently split. Was it 50-1? Amazon shares. I don't know. They were over 3,000 maybe. I'm not don't quote me on the numbers, but it was up there. Several grand the shares were worth, and all of a sudden I took a look at it and went, oh my goodness. They took the shares, they split them 50-1. So that means that if you had one share, at $2,000, that one share now became 50 shares at reduction of price, So what this does is it brings the price down on the stock to where more people can actually afford to invest in it. I think it was a good move by Amazon at the current moment. It will probably help keep their stock price driven up during all of this, because once people become aware of the fact that suddenly Amazon is a cheap stock, they might start buying it, because generally speaking, sometimes splits really mess companies up. But most of the time, all a split does is eventually everything goes back to reach level with water again. Water reaches its own level. If a share was selling at $2,000 a share prior to the split, there's a pretty good chance in a few years it's probably going to be back there again. That tends to be how this works, at least from my history. So we're back there again to me talking about investing, and if you have missed out on the fact that Amazon split 50-1, take a look, because right now you can get on board with it, and it's fluctuating too with this bear thing. And if you pay attention to where it's rolling high one day and then you get up and find out she's slumping the next, I might go in and throw some money on that issue. It'd be a good time to do it. You'll be glad 10 years from now that you did that. This is sort of, how I got in a position where I'm talking about this, saying, wow, I'm really sorry that the rest of you are experiencing this, because a lot of times when things go sour, when they head south, in the economy, there's always some spot where money's being made. It doesn't matter whether nothing is ever uniform up and down, okay? People start dying in mass. Well, hospital beds, caskets, undertakers, There's always something that profits. I mean, I'll tell you, obliterate the entire nation, with a nuke warhead or something, but... under almost all circumstances that I can recall, when there's a disaster, the value of Band-Aids goes way up, It's like that. There's always something, and, but it just has to do with sustainability and lifestyle, where you put your money, what is important to you, and what is your life direction. When you're being pulled this way and that way by, your boss, or by your mom, or by your wife, or by whatever it happens to be, your friends, and they're going, oh, don't do that, get them all off your back, clear the air, figure out what works for you, because even if you happen to be a person who's in a relationship, maybe you have children, maybe a dog, even if you happen to have people who are dependent on what you do, unless you're happy and unless you're successful, they won't be happy either. So even if they don't think what you have on your mind matches what they think they have on their mind, half the time what's on their mind is fear. I've been in relationships before, and that's generally what I faced, is fear and sometimes trust issues. That's what it's all about. There's no actual reality there. People have not actually analyzed the situation. They're just scared of it. Oh no, don't do that. It's change. Because to get yourself in a situation where you can benefit from the nature of our economy rather than be crushed by it, that is a risk. It's a chance taking. You have to step out of yourself a little bit, and you definitely got to step out of what everybody else behind you has to say. Yeah, I can't work with people yelling in my ear. Backseat drivers, no. But what I can say on that is there are times where I felt, well, because of the other people around me, and maybe this isn't good for them, and so I have responsibilities towards them, and I really got to limit my actions and do what I think is best for them. Every time that went wrong. There's never been a time when I put them ahead of me that it went right. Eventually, something goes wrong, because if I'm not focusing on whether I am happy, successful in the groove that I need to be in, and just really being able to flow energy, if I'm constricted, I'm not happy, so nobody else near me is going to be happy either. It's that simple. Yeah. But so then, on top of the 42% of the Americans right now who are dipping into the savings they didn't have to begin with, then we got monkeypox running around. That's a good one, huh? Boy, oh boy, they could have come up with a better name for it than that. I'll tell you. I mean, they could have called it ape pox. That would have been better. Gorilla pox, primate pox. Anything but monkeypox. It sounds kind of cute, It's kind of like, smallpox. Oh, don't worry about those. They're just little pox, These are just cute little monkeypox. Oh, names. I guess we did start out with this whole thing being called coronavirus, didn't we? There was a brewing company that got dinged pretty hard on that one. That's just about how suggestible and dumb a lot of us are. There were actually people on social media that thought they might get coronavirus from drinking Corona beer. Well, I wouldn't recommend drinking Corona beer. I happen to be a beer lover, and I know from traveling south of the border, most of your Mexicans who like beer will tell you that's for alcoholics and for Americans. We don't drink that stuff. Modelo, Carta Blanca, Negro Modelo, Dos Equis. These are all things that Mexicans do consume south of the border, and I'll agree with most of them. Every once in a while, I think I've had a Dos Equis. There might have been in the can too long, tasted metal. That happens when stuff is getting thrown on a boat, but generally fairly good beer. I wouldn't recommend that you would have drank Corona even if it didn't have a virus or did have a virus. Wasn't fit for drinking. Why do you think they push a lime in the neck of the bottle to kill the flavor? Yeah, well, rambling on about that one, right? So we got this thing. They're claiming that this takes intimate contact. Well, okay, so does that mean that all the whorehouses in Las Vegas are in big trouble? I don't know. I wouldn't be kissing anybody that had little blisters all over their lips, that's for sure. It's... is it better or worse than a case of genital warts? I don't know. I guess it goes away with a vaccine. So here they claim they got a vaccine, right? Because it's been around so close to smallpox. They think the smallpox vaccine will nail the monkeypox. Well, I tell you, the photographs of the stuff look pretty rough. I feel like, waking up as a freshman in high school, looking in the mirror in the morning and going, oh my God, where's the Clearasil? Because I'm covered in zits. These are really big and ugly. They don't look fun. I guess it's painful. I heard a guy talking about the pain from all of this too. I guess it's not lethal. I don't know. But it's apparently running amok across the U.S., and we're worried about having to bring in vaccine from European countries because we snuffed smallpox so thoroughly so many years ago that we don't have enough vaccine on hand to handle this monkeypox thing, which is a really good example, I think, of how when people do line up and they go ahead and they take a vaccine for a virus like this, disease went away. And none of us worried about smallpox anymore. We did worry about it when I was a boy. I had a scar on my arm from the vaccine. Left a big old nasty booger on everybody's arms. I guess they must have healed over time because I don't notice those scars anymore. They used to be so common. You'd see great big scars on people's upper arms where they scratched the vaccine in. The question is, how easy is it really going to be to spread this one? Can the kids spread it in class? If they do, then, kid's going to come home, mom's going to kiss the kid and say hi, and mom's got it. So it might not have to be the red light district in Amsterdam that's going to spread this stuff. It appears that it can spread a lot more easily than, say, AIDS did, where, generally sexual contact was required to spread that one around for the most part. So this one, I guess, any sort of a close personal contact with a person who has it can do this. I'm not looking forward to it, and the fact that they're getting serious about it, we can only look at it two ways. One, the whole coronavirus thing or COVID thing was completely blown. Okay. Yeah. America muffed it. Half the world did too, We muffed it, and so we got problems. So I don't know. They worried that maybe we're going to muff the monkeypox virus too. So they're getting excited. Or is this really going to be more dangerous than I think it is? Will this thing really spread more easily? We'll find out in time, won't we? Well, heading back to the 42%, I'm curious. Yeah, I am. I would really invite comments from the viewers as far as, what is your situation out there? How do you feel? How is this working out for you? Is it really bad? Is it, or, is it just another thing? I'd like to hear. I'm also curious, I suppose, as not to get too personal, but as to whether or not you're really having to use up funds, that you would put aside for a rainy day, as they say, to be able to get through this mess. I'd be very curious in finding that out. Like you see, I live on the same planet, but I don't really live in the same world. What goes down for a lot of us goes up for me, because of the way I think about things, that I tend to react differently under situations than a lot of Americans do. And so I'm always looking for, how can I make a buck on this? I'm sorry, but it's true. I live in a capitalistic society. I have probably personal mindset. I'm more socialistic probably than I am capitalistic in that regard. But hey, when you live inside of something, fighting a juggernaut like capitalistic economic system is a ridiculous undertaking. Yeah, anytime I hear people dissing it, it's the Bilderbergers, or the bankers are taking all our money, whatever. Anytime I hear that, I run, because it's the only reason I kind of like living in the United States is that, hey, I got a smiley face on about making money in capitalism. I became very good at it as a small child. I started out dredging pop bottles out of lagoons with a grappling hook. Okay? We started way down there. I cleaned bird cages. I cleaned pigeon coops. Yes. So I started at the bottom with everybody else. Oh, I still throw bird manure around. Yeah, so nothing's changed. But over the years, just my general attitude about economy is when it looks to me like I might start falling short, rather than going to the bank most of the time or going to the credit card, usually what I'll do is make more money. That's the nature of the system we live in. But when you're fixed in a job, with an employer and all this stuff, well, it's not that simple. We've got to take a second job or start a small business in your garage or something or another to be able to make that. But when you are basically in business for yourself, there's a very surprising thing about raising rates. This is a dirty little secret, but I think it's a good time. I'll pass it on today. And that is that while working as a horticultural consultant and landscape developer in California, there were certain clientele that, put it bluntly, were cheapskates. Okay? And they're a problem for me. I work best when somebody takes the leash off and says, go for it, do it, Bill. And keep in consideration things cost money, but I'm not going to cut expenses because somebody wants it cheapened. If they start on that with me, I usually try to get out of the job as fast as possible and leave and find another client who is willing to stay off my back and let me work so that I can do good work for them, because things cost money. That's it. And when your primary focus is on the dollar bill, you're not going to get the right work. No. People will cheapen things up. They'll cut corners, and they might even, like me, get an attitude where I don't like you and I want to get out of here, So how I dealt with that was I just began raising rates. Every time I got up to a point with people where I was dealing with cheapness and didn't enjoy it, I'd double my rate. Truth of the matter is that I wouldn't lose half of my customers when I did that. I might lose 25% of them because I doubled my rate. But obviously, the doubled rate with still 75% of the customers means I made more money every time I raised my rates. And of course, people who aren't familiar with this dirty little secret would think, oh, you raise your rates, somebody else with a cheaper price is going to take your business. Well, in some cases, that is true. And it's with the people that appreciate cheapness. But not everybody's that way. I frequently will shop in stores, for instance, or at businesses that are not the cheapest places to shop. They just happen to have the better products, the better service, a lot of other positives about the business. Maybe they're employee-owned, other things. Cheapness is not necessarily the primary reason why I walk into a business. I'll walk into a business because they treat me well, and they remember my name when I come in, and I'll pay them an extra $10 over somebody that doesn't give a darn whether I'm alive or not. Yeah, this is true. And some people are the same way, and so I went through numerous stages of doubling my rates while I was working in California, and every time I maintained clientele, and in fact, in some cases, clientele grew. Well, let's just say if you're in the Bay Area, this is your Silicon Valley, a lot of money circulating, a lot of people, very wealthy. I had a pretty good reputation because I'd run one of the major nurseries in the Bay Area for years, and people had come to buy things from me. People who were into plants knew who I was. Okay. Well, when I went into business for myself, being able to afford to have Bill as your consultant, as the guy who'd come down and look at your flowers once a month, it was a status symbol. Yeah. It's true. Other people who were fairly well-moneyed would brag about the fact that I was the guy that worked for them, not some mow and blow guy who could, English was a second language. Not like that. No. We had a college-educated horticulturalist who ran one of the best nurseries in the Bay Area for decades, who would stop in on our garden. Yeah. And so people were willing to pay that money. Yeah, because it was status. Obviously, somebody's buying Lamborghinis, somebody's buying Bugattis, right? These things are fabulously expensive automobiles. If you're not familiar with those names, somebody's buying them. I couldn't. I don't think. I don't know if I want one anyway. But somebody's doing that. And a lot of times when we get into economic thoughts, let's say we make $80,000 a year. Okay, that's our household income, which is not an unusual figure for a lot of Americans. At the moment, it's barely enough to get by on if maybe you got a couple of kids. If you're living alone, it's probably fine. Maybe if it's just you and the spouse, maybe it's okay. I don't know, but if that's what you're living on, you see the world through $80,000 a year glasses. Those are your limitations, your blinders. You don't see the world through $120,000 a year glasses or $160,000 a year glasses. You don't, because you have $80,000 a year is what you're working with. And so most of your thoughts, most of your visions, most of your plans are all going to be based on that. It's a limiter, because if you're making only $80,000 and thinking about the world that way and kind of struggling your way through it, I don't think you can visualize what the guy down the street who makes $300,000 a year and has no family, for instance, is thinking. I don't think you can really see exactly how they look at money, how they deal with all of this. And so you're going to direct your life by the basis of what you think you know in this regard. But the truth is that if you're good at what you do, that's right, and if you can promote yourself, well, two things very important: promotion, and you got to be able to offer up what you say you can offer up. Okay, you got to be honest about it. But if you can manage that, sky's the limit as far as what people are willing to pay you. Because, say in my case, I'm not a mow and blow guy. They pay that guy, $150 maybe to come through and do the work, trim the shrubs and so on. But they're going to pay me a whole heck of a lot more, because I'm going to explain to them everything that guy did wrong, what they shouldn't be doing, what they should be doing, and so on. Specialized knowledge, deeper vision on what is garden, what is landscape, what is horticulture, and it's worth the money to the people who care enough and realize the value, and they're out there. Especially today with the internet, because with the internet, you can go trolling. It's like fishing, It's like you sit on the bank of the river and you cast that plug out there into the current, and you just keep throwing it until sooner or later some muskie gets tired of that thing, hops up and grabs hold of it, and then you got a tiger by the tail, It's kind of the same way in the economy. You just throw your face out there, throw your website out there, throw your business card out there, and a lot of them going to be totally disinterested. The fish are going to swim around your website, but the person looking for you is going to find it. And when they find you, you can make contacts and connections depending on what it is that you're doing that can be completely international. I deny and decline all international contacts myself. I have my reasons for why that is, but I don't deal with them other than to acknowledge that they're there. That's it. But I don't ship out of the country. I don't do work out of the country. These days, I don't even do work in the country anymore. Pretty much everything I do is based on seed collection and propagation of plants. It's most of it. I don't do any of the rest of the stuff. I don't walk around your landscape anymore and tell you why your orange tree is failing, No, those days are over. I don't need to do it anymore, and I don't want to. We imprison ourselves into our own thoughts about economy by looking at economy through our own glasses, so to speak, our economic glasses. They're tinted, I guess is the best way to put it, by the state of our reality, by the state of our economy. And it's hard to see outside and past them. But when you remove the blinders, you just go for it. You take a risk. And if you're in a situation where you can go ahead and ask what you want to ask, well, that's about it for today. Hang loose, everybody. Aloha.